Morning, afternoon, whatever. This is Greg. This is Take It Easy. I've got with me George from GivEnergy.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. Lovely to be here.
So, George, it's called GivEnergy because...
I honestly don't know, to be honest with you.
And you guys do batteries, inverters...
Exactly, yeah. So we do sort of whole energy management systems. So everything from the batteries, the inverters, we do an EV charger, we've got our own sort of monitoring portal, everything basically.
Amazing. So how does your offering stack up to, compared to other companies on the market?
It's an ever increasing market at the moment, and trying to find ways to sort of put your head above the parapet and stand out is always getting tricky. We are one of the only companies that own the whole kind of manufacturing process that we have. So we manufacture currently in China, but we own the factories in China that do the manufacturing. So everything is UK owned, and all the software side that we have, so all of the data and the app and the monitoring portal that you have as part of our offering is built in the UK and is managed in the UK too. We've also got one of the best warranties on the market at the moment too, so 12 years on everything.
Wow, that's a lot of years.
It's a lot of years. It's a lot of years, Greg. Yeah. So yeah, that's our two biggest USPs, as well as just kind of being, we're one of the biggest in terms of battery storage in the UK right now. So if you've got a battery, there's a good chance you've got a GivEnergy one, but if you haven't, you've probably heard of us.
Yeah, I've noticed that the size-wise, they're actually quite compact for the what is the technical term? The size per kilowatt, or I don't know what is the technical term for that?
Yeah, I think the size per kilowatt hour is probably quite good. But yeah, they are. Like I say, so we own the whole manufacturing process. So we have real hands-on and design in terms of the R&D and the planning of all the products that come out. So over the time, we've just managed to compact that down. So if you have a look at like the early days of GivEnergy products, they're a lot bigger than what they are now. And that's purely just because the technology has advanced so much. Yeah.
So why do you control everything from, finished to end? Like there's a lot of companies out there that order cells from China usually, or other manufacturers, and then just kind of rebrand it themselves. I'm not going to name the names, but we all know them. And they're usually bigger, and they don't control the process. And they're usually quite more expensive. There's obviously companies like Tesla Powerwall that, used to have the most, I shouldn't say bang, but like the most power.
That's a bad word for this.
I know. The most, power for the or capacity for the size of it, and price like per pound or per dollar. And there's some other companies in between. I think Tesla, as far as I know, is the only other one that I know that actually controls the whole process, right? But what was it? Was it the control? Was it the price? Was it why? What was the story like behind GivEnergy and controlling everything?
Yeah, so originally we would make products. So this is going back sort of 10 years now. We'd make products for other companies, and then they would be white labeled. So we were that sort of part of it. And then we kind of wanted a bit of the pie, really. And we thought, well, we could just do this on our own. And so that's how GivEnergy, as it is now, came to be, really. And I think it's that element of control. It's the element of being able to know your product inside out, and know what it can do and what it can't do, and how we can improve it, and all that good stuff. And then also, the price is a real big component of that too, because we don't buy anything in like that. It helps us keep the cost down and keeps us competitive, and gives the customer, as you say, like real good bang for the buck, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, the combination of those things, I think, really is, it's often overlooked, especially in this industry, but I do think that's an important factor. Absolutely.
It is. Not many people will spend a lot of money on a small battery. Like in the UK, there seems to be a lot of companies aiming for 5 kilowatt hours for a household. I still think that's not enough. But what is your view on that? Like, if you look at America, obviously houses are, 4 or 5 times bigger.
Yeah.
And yet they get 12, 18 kilowatt hours. It doesn't add up, if you know what I mean? Like, you still, I think average UK house consumes about 10 kilowatts a day, or 10 kilowatt hours, a day.
Yeah. It's between like something 9 and 13 or something is the average, or something like that. But you're absolutely right. And then you've got to have an element of forward thinking too. As we're making this transition to everything becoming more electrified in the home, you're probably going to want to oversize what you've got anyway, because it might be in 5 years' time you have a heat pump on top of that 9 to 13 kilowatt hours that you're using. You might, you might get underfloor electric heating or something. You know what I mean? Like, everything can get more and more electrified, and you're going to need more storage and more power to be able to fulfill that. 5 kilowatt hours is probably okay if maybe you're living on your own in a flat or something, like if a rented accommodation, maybe something like that. it's a good starting block too for a lot of people. So we have a lot of customers that maybe don't want to invest too heavily because they're maybe a little bit skeptical, but they know that this, there's a good ROI on these things and they're sort of dipping their toe. You can scale up our systems as and when you want to. So you could start off with a 5 kilowatt hour battery and then in a couple of years' time go, you know what, actually, I'm using a lot more energy now. I'm going to add another one on and increase your investment like that, essentially. So it's a nice starting point, I think, 5 kilowatt hours. But you're right, in terms of probably like the longer term goals of it, it's not going to be enough forever.
Okay. You do have a 5 kilowatt hour or 4.9, is it? Like this, the lowest offering?
So the lowest we do is a 2.6 kilowatt hour.
Oh, wow. Is that just like from an electronics point of view, that's like a capacitor on your solar system,
yeah.
right? just like a bucket that just keeps the flow.
Yeah. To be honest with you, you get a lot of people that, so we do, so like our standard domestic range is 2.6, 5.1, and then 9.5. And then we go into bigger sort of all-in-one territories, which is about 13.5. And then even bigger than that, you can go stackables, 3-phase, all sorts. The 2.6 really is, you've got maybe a 9.5 and you want a little bit more storage, but you don't want to have to pay for another one. You can add a 2.6 on for a fraction of the cost of another 9.5, and they'll work together in tandem fine. That's not a problem. And it maybe just pushes you over the line. That's realistically what that's being used for now. Or again, you can stack those up. So if for whatever reason you wanted 7 kilowatt hours or something, you could have 3 2.6s and then you'd be there or thereabouts. But yeah, on its own as a standalone, you wouldn't have that really.
Okay. Are those batteries, like specifically, GivEnergy batteries, are they rated to be outside or they just have to be indoors?
Yeah, no, everything we do, GivEnergy is IP65 rated.
Okay.
So it's fine to be outside. We don't have a problem with that. The only thing that we say, which is, if people familiar with GivEnergy will know this, is that on some of the products, we want a canopy over the top of it. And that's purely just to kind of protect it from snow or like sort of debris like leaves or whatever sort of gathering on top and blocking the airflow that you're going to get to the system. But in terms of like water and rain and all that kind of good stuff, it's no problem at all. Everything can go outside.
Yeah, because not everybody's got, like in my case, for instance, the garage has been converted into an office.
Lovely.
So I can't really put anything. I mean, let's be honest, the houses that were built in 17 and 80s, the garage is too narrow for modern cars.
Yeah.
You can't really use it,
Who puts their car in a garage these days anyway as well?
Exactly.
It's so impressive, isn't it?
So loads of garages have been converted. So that kind of leaves you with a loft, and that's a hot or a cold place.
Yeah.
So it's not really ideal, and it's far away from the distribution board.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always asking, like, when it comes to batteries, ideal places for it to be outside, somewhere next to the charger, for instance.
Yeah.
The other question that I always have about the batteries, and I have people asking, is like, okay, I already have solar from somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work?
Will it work?
Yeah.
Yes, it will work. Yeah. So a lot of our systems have the ability to be able to monitor a pre-existing solar supply that you've got in your property. And you literally, so we have like a CT clamp that you clamp on to that. That's not a problem at all. That's one of the kind of real important things when it comes to battery storage, really. A lot of people might have, had fit or were early adopters back in the day. And now they're looking to expand on that, or that's maybe coming to an end and then wanting to, get use out of that early investment. We can absolutely do that. That's not a problem at all.
Another question that I always kind of hear people asking about batteries is how safe are they compared? I mean, we all know within the industry that the battery fires are not happening very often, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually because of the external factors, not the cells themselves that actually catch fire, but it's the cables between them, for the lack of a better word, like the buses, I think they call them.
Yeah.
Or some other silly mistake that somebody made, or somebody squashed the cells too much during production, but that happens very, very seldomly.
Yeah.
And yet they have to recall thousands of packs. Has that ever happened with the domestic battery? How do you reassure people that it's not a problem?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is something to consider, especially I think it gets conflated a lot by the media. You see all the time about sort of cars going up in flames and being EVs.
Yeah.
And then, actually, is that happening that often? I don't think it really is, to be honest with you. But it's a valid concern for some people. In terms of our batteries, we use a battery composition called lithium iron phosphate, or LiFePO4. And that's one of the safest battery compositions on the market today, right now. It has a really low, what we call thermal runaway, which means the chance of that catching fire is virtually nothing at all. All that happens if the batteries are ever sort of punctured or damaged or overcharged or whatever is the cells will expand and then they release a non-toxic vapor into the air, which smells disgusting. It's not very nice at all, but it's not going to catch on fire. That being said, if you have a fire in your home, a battery is not going to help the situation, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to start that fire. You're right. It's more likely to be an electrics issue. It's not been installed properly. There's something, that's sticking out that shouldn't be, and your electrician doesn't know, something like that. Do you know what I mean? But the battery itself isn't just going to catch on fire one day and go up in flames.
Yeah. I'm asking because we are at Everything Electric South 24 in Farnborough, and one of the kind of themes of the show this year is battling misinformation. So, getting that up front, like telling people like up front, like this isn't a problem. We thought about it. We're smart.
There's been no fires at Everything Electric. It's been great. Nothing has caught fire. I know, everything's fine.
I've been to one of the shows, like completely, like this is unrelated, but like we've been told to set up cars in the park so that people can come around. This was for Yorkshire EV meetup in Rotherham, and the organizers sneakingly put fire extinguishers by the behind every tree. And A, if there was a runaway fire in a car, that would not have helped. And B, what a cheek move. And obviously everything was fine. Like nobody had any issues. But it's funny. Like this was basically probably done by somebody who thought, I've read somewhere this, this stuff, and I don't know more about this. I'm not going to ask anybody. I'm just going to put fire extinguisher there.
Yeah.
So it is on people's minds. And let's be assured, like in case of EVs, you're less likely to have fire in an EV. Like I think it's 10 to 20 times less likely statistically, because it's just fewer moving parts.
Exactly.
And things don't get as hot, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure when it comes to domestic battery storage, you optimize the size, obviously, but you don't optimize necessarily the weight, right? So these batteries are probably heavier than what you would put in a car. Like it's not a concern when it comes to the weight. But also, I presume, and I'm just asking for confirmation because, I don't know. But again, as an engineer, I'm thinking about it. I'm sure these things are also rated for is it a C rating? So it's a less of a C rating than a car battery, because you're not going to pull 200 amps when you launch the car, right, out of the domestic battery pack. So that kind of swiftly leads me to another question, which is, I think, another important thing when it comes to battery packs, is how much power can you put in and pull out of your battery packs?
So it depends on what you've got, which is a real cheap cop-out answer, I'm sorry, but it does. The biggest that we do at the moment currently is our all-in-one unit, which is a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery with an AC coupled inverter attached to that. That's got a continuous output of 6 kilowatt, so it can discharge continuously 6 kilowatts and then charge 6 kilowatts too. That is the biggest that we do currently. We've got a few things coming in the pipeline that are going to succeed that, hopefully coming sort of early Q1, Q2 next year. But right now, if you were to look at GivEnergy and buy something, that would be the best that you could do for single phase at least. For 3-phase, we go bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's purely because of the phases and being able to handle more output than one single phase. But for most standard homes in the UK, you're going to have a single phase, and that's the biggest you can get.
Okay. And obviously, if you have a smaller battery, it doesn't go that far, right?
Exactly, yeah. So on the smaller side of things, the lowest output that we do would be 2.6 kilowatts, which again, depending on your usage, if you maybe live on your own and you're a very low energy user, that would probably do you, to be honest with you. It's all about you and your needs, and if you've got the information to begin with, if you know what you're using in a day and you know the items that you're using in your home that are going to draw electricity, that makes it a lot easier for you to be able to make that decision yourself. We're here and we can guide you and we can help you, and your installer will help you too. But if you've got that information, it's your house, it's your usage, it makes things 10 times easier.
Well, I think one of the propositions of GivEnergy is having a cheaper solution that still works pretty well and has a very long guarantee, like you said.
Yeah.
Because you're doing the end-to-end manufacturing and installation, so you can guarantee the product. You're not reliant on a third party giving you their warranty and therefore capping it, down to whatever they give you.
Exactly. Right? I mean, so we don't do the installation ourselves. It wouldn't be a GivEnergy person, but all of the people that do GivEnergy installs will come to our center and do a training course with us. So they're all accredited by us, and they've done some sort of formal training with us, so they know how the kit works. They know the pitfalls to avoid and all that good stuff. But yeah, you're absolutely right. We if anything, we estimate that to be longer. We wanted to go bigger with the warranty, but then for kind of insurance purposes, we had to drop it back down to 12. But realistically, you could have that battery for 15, 20 years, depending on your usage, and it would be fine. It wouldn't be an issue at all.
What is the most, because we obviously at Everything Electric show, this is Sunday, so it's the third day. Mm-hmm. You've had a fair share of people asking you questions on the stand. Yeah. What is the most thing you've heard?
I think one of the really exciting things that we do at Give that not many other people, if any people, actually do at the moment is we've got our own DFS scheme. So I can talk about that a little bit if you're not too familiar with what that is, but it's essentially like an incentive when the grid is under real strain. You can send energy back to the grid in order to help keep the lights on for the UK in its entirety, really, and you can get really lucrative rates for doing that. So we run that scheme that's specific to us. And you can, I think last year people were getting sort of £4 a kilowatt hour, sometimes when it was kind of in the deep winter, dark days that we had. And that obviously is massively lucrative if you've got a lot of storage and you can, chuck 6 kilowatts out for an hour. You're raking it in, really. And that's a really exciting prospect, I think, for people. Not only do you get to feel a bit smug because you're like, I helped keep my neighbour's lights on and they don't even know about it. But you're also coming back with a nice paycheck off the back of that too.
So that helps. It gives people another incentive to buy.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. Because these things are not cheap in the grand scheme of things, but they're obviously... I always think battery is something that you should have if you get solar. I got my solar in 2017, and the only option we had at the time that was really sensible was Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to go that far with money, so we didn't get it. And I'm kind of still regretting not having a battery, and it's something that I'm considering now.
Yeah.
But we've had, and I'm not the only one in this bucket, we've had our solar for, 7 years, and it still works flawlessly. And it's I don't want to change that installation.
Yeah.
I don't want to change the inverter, So this is why I'm asking, like, somebody in my group or use case, is going to come in and I just want a battery.
Mm-hmm.
How do those batteries actually work with smart diverters like Zappy and, because you have your own charger, but again, you might go to somebody's house and they already have a charger. They're not going to change their charger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because, it integrates much better with your thing. But you might not necessarily want to buy the battery from a manufacturer of your charger because maybe it doesn't fit your purpose. Maybe it's more expensive. Who knows? Do all those things work then? Or
yeah, it all works absolutely fine. Greg, to be honest with you, it's all about. I mean, having a whole ecosystem is more of it's an easy thing for you.
Of course,
you can have it on one app and you can how it all works and it's all fine. You can have a battery from us. You can have a charge from somebody else. You can have a diverter from somebody else, and it will all work together fine. There's no problem with that. It's a bit more laborious for you. You've got to go in and you've got to manually do things where if you were to have just GivEnergy equipment, you can schedule things and it will just be autonomous for you then, and you don't have to worry about it. But you make a good point earlier on about if you're having solar now, it's a massive no-brainer. You may as well get battery on top of it because that's going to increase the amount of generation that you're generating and then being able to use on top of that.
But even if it smooths out the load, right?
Exactly, yeah. So your solar is going to go further because you're not wasting any by sending it back to the grid. You're going to use the vast majority of them. But even if you haven't got solar, a lot of our use cases these days are people who are just having a battery and they're getting on, either they've got like an economy 7 tariff from way back when, or they're getting on a smart overnight tariff because they've got an EV and they're charging the battery up overnight and then discharging it during the day. And you can save tons from doing that if you charge it like 6-7p, some of the rates now, and they go up to 30-35. It's a no-brainer. You're going to power your home from that low price all day long.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Again, I have to get a battery. I'm just pondering the market currently.
We'll sort you out, Greg. Don't worry. We'll get you one. It's fine.
Sure. So, was there any question that I didn't ask you, or is there something you want to talk about that you're excited about in particular, and you want people to know?
I think to be fair, I think you've done really well, Greg. You've done a really good job. Well done. I think you asked all the questions that needed to be asked. In terms of, we can talk a little bit about the future, I suppose. We've got some really, really exciting things coming out at the end of the year and next year, which I can't talk about in too much detail, but I would say definitely keep an eye out on GivEnergy and what we're doing and how we're working, because it really is a really exciting time for us. And, the industry as a whole is always quite exciting, to be honest with you. We're all, everybody's kind of pushing each other to do bigger and better and be bolder and all this kind of good stuff. So it's exciting for the battery storage and sort of solar space as a whole. But specifically at Give, we're doing a lot of very cool things that are going to come into fruition sort of end of the year, beginning of next year, which, we can't wait for you all to see.
Are you UK only company, or do you install in other countries as well?
No, yeah. So we're our HQ's in the UK. We're based up in Stoke-on-Trent in the Midlands. but we're in the Netherlands, we're in Australia, we're in South Africa. So yeah, we've got sort of fingers in a lot of pies, and we've got sort of our main manufacturing over in China too, and in Asia we're there as well. So yeah, we're quite a global company these days, which has only really happened in the last sort of 2-3 years really for us. So the expansion's been huge.
I mean, it sounds like there's an episode with an update coming up in the future. Stay tuned.
We'll come back. Absolutely.
Good stuff. Right. It was nice to have you. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.